This is where things get a little bit scary. Learning to code is really not easy. In the US, there are a lot of these computer science boot camps that are springing up and helping people who don't have experience in coding, like myself, learn how to code, and selling the idea that you can make $80,000, $90,000 as your first job coming out of a 3-month full-time boot camp. So you spend every single day from 9 to 6 learning how to program and in either to make websites, to make apps, to build services on the back end. You can make that much money. So I did that because I knew, like, back then it was just, before I had my app, before I realized I wanted to do my work full time, it was still an idea. I was like, I want to do it, and I don't have the funding to go from learning how to build an app all the way to making the app. Like, I had to find a job at some point. I knew that in the back of my head. So I did this 3-month program, and God. I didn't hate it, but I hated the fact that I was lied to. And I'm going to call out Flatiron School and a lot of other programs that are like Flatiron School, where they really try to sell you this promise. And this is controversial because I have a lot of close friends that are, they're successful, and myself included. Like, I was very successful from the boot camp, coming from there. But I'll tell you right now that I graduated the boot camp, and part of what you pay for, it's like you pay anywhere from $15,000 to $20,000, and that includes basically assistance to help you find a job after you graduate. Now, a lot of these programs, they have these kind of like guarantees, warranty guarantee things where if you don't have a job, maybe they'll give you the money back, whatever. That's great. I think that's better than nothing. But for me, I definitely didn't have that. And the reason why I'm so frustrated is because, like, I honestly felt like I was the hardest worker. I just absolutely did everything I could to be the best computer programmer during this 3-month program. I made some of the closest friends back then. So my experience from like the first week all the way to the 12th week was fantastic. And it was only until after, when it was time to find a job, where I was really, really getting scared and upset because I had paid $15,000. I quit my job. I dropped my acceptance into NYU physical therapy because I wanted to actually get into physical therapy. I won't get much into that, but there was a point where I was about to get into physical therapy school for another 3 years and become a doctorate in physical therapy. I dropped that too. So as you can see, there was a lot on the line of like getting a job, and these freaking advisors were so awful, and I don't blame them. I do blame them. I don't know who to blame, but there's a crap ton of these kids who need to find jobs, and there's literally like 4 or 5 advisors, and like they're just working as hard as they can, and like they're making calls and like trying to make affiliations with all these other companies, and I don't know what their order is of getting people jobs. Probably the most talented, but selfishly, as just someone who is competitive, I should have been the first on the damn line. Like, put me on first. Anyways, I couldn't get a job in mobile. I couldn't get a job in what I learned for 3 months. I went 3 months there to learn how to build mobile apps. Sucked. I was really lucky. I had a friend who worked he was a computer science major in NYU. I met him through working as a strength coach. He was on the basketball team. So he offered me a job as kind of like a junior assistant for him. He would teach me how to build a website. And again, I went to this 3-month coding camp that I went to. It was only for building mobile apps. It wasn't for knowing how to build a website. In tech, they call them full stack developers. So Jed, my friend, was offering to pay me as someone who had no idea how to build a website, learn how to build a website, and to be his assistant. And that was I don't know, that was like the luckiest break I had in my life, because I don't know where I'd be like had I not gotten that phone call from him. And yeah, so I did that for 8 months, and I learned a whole lot. Anyone who's ever come from like a non-traditional computer science background, and your first job is staring at a computer 8 hours a day, it's weird. It's like, geez, I'm kind of deteriorating. And you also feel like you don't feel like you fit in. You feel like, I'm a fitness coach. I lift heavy weights and I teach people how to run faster. And I'm sitting on this chair nonstop and I'm looking at lines of code. And it's not only are you looking at lines of code, you don't feel like you understand it because you're still learning. Like, this is totally new to you. So I had this imposter syndrome where I felt like I didn't belong. And anyways, those are some hard times. And I didn't always want to stay getting paid as a contractor. I mean, the remaining time when I wasn't working at this place, I still would try to study and build mobile apps to improve my resume. So this was like the perfect time for me to start building Superfit, the app that is I currently have right now. And I started very early on, and I was basically using like my app as a part of my resume to show people, hey, I'm building a fitness app. Take a look at it. You know, like I had nothing on my resume. It was like 3 months of a boot camp, and this contractor job at a fashion startup. Some people don't even have that. So can you imagine someone like Tumblr, Google, Pinterest looking at this and like, what the heck? Luckily, one company 8 months later, after I was working with Jed at this fashion startup, they finally kind of saw some talent in me, and that's where I met my most recent boss, Bay. And I mean, he took a leap of faith in me and basically offered me a full-time job at this company called Plated. So like, that was second like lucky break in life, was that opportunity. Someone offered me a full-time job to work on the mobile app for this company, and I worked my ass off. And up until a month ago, before I quit, I still tried to work my ass off to just be as good of a contribution I could be, to be as good of a contribution that I can be to the company. They took a leap of faith in me, and so this company, Plated, Bay, they took a leap of faith in me, someone who never wrote any production lines of code for mobile besides my fitness app, and they saw talent, and I'm thankful to this day for them giving me that opportunity. And that's like me working full time at Plated. It was really where my life kind of changed, and like I went from being a personal trainer, basketball, fitness identity, to programmer. Like, this is where I kind of switched on over. And for the most part, it was amazing. It was great. Like, there are things that I've been able to do in my life that only came with having a full-time job, right? Like, all this stuff that I have, like this MacBook Pro, I don't know, like being able to have an iPhone, and also my Google Pixel over there, and to also have these Bose headphones, and like an iPad Pro. Like, all that stuff comes from having a full-time job, and likely doesn't come when you're a coach. I'm only saying it because I used to be a coach, and let me tell you now, I couldn't afford that. Maybe the better coaches could, but I wouldn't have been able to afford all this stuff, and also this kind of like camera setup that I've got going on. Like, I don't like this sort of stuff. It's an expensive hobby. It could be. That really changed my life, because I used to be really competitive. I used to be really kind of to myself, and I would think all the time, and I wouldn't really be outgoing. I was just hyper competitive, and like I didn't really talk to people unless I was really cool with them. And Plated kind of changed all that. Like Plated really made me into an adult. Like it taught me how to just work with other people legitimately. It really taught me how to be a teammate, how to speak professionally to other people, how to be a real leader in a professional setting. And for those things, I am ultimately thankful for Plated, you know. But that wasn't even the biggest benefit of working at Plated. I already talked about all of the crappy parts of being a programmer, which is like sitting all the time. I mean, you could have a standing desk, but ultimately when you're looking at lines of code, sometimes you just have to focus, and it feels more comfortable to sit and look at code. Like the biggest thing that I got from being a computer programmer with a full-time job at a tech company was the people that I met. And this is so cheesy, but it is true that the people you meet are honestly like what makes the people you meet, the people you know, the people you spend time with. It's really what makes life worth living. Because I've met so many great people, and you know, I always kind of like walked around thinking everyone had their own motive. Everyone sort of like is out to get you. People are just kind of fake. And I don't know where I had that mentality from, maybe just growing up in Flushing, but working at Plated, I met some of the greatest people. Like people truly just happy to kind of, I don't even have words. Like they're just awesome, great people that I could rely on, and that I just sorely miss. So as great as it is now, being sitting here alone with my lamp, my bedroom that's over here, my computer, like the hardest thing about leaving that job recently is just the people. Like I miss all y'all. If you guys are watching, I miss you guys a lot. Has anyone ever told you that being a programmer is just being really good at Googling? That is like 75% true. I would say the other 25% is to be able to effectively communicate, as with any other job, as with any other, like, it doesn't have to be programming, as with any other job, like communicating with other people, and to be professional, and to be able to effectively say what you're thinking in a short amount of time, and not ramble like I usually do with the camera. That is a really big skill, but still 25% for a programmer. 75% of being a computer programmer is figuring things out. I mean, they call you software engineer for a reason. Like, you're building things and you're trying to learn how to solve problems, how to fix bugs. A big part of fixing bugs is Googling things, you know? So when I say 75% of like being a programmer is often like being really good at Googling, it's kind of true. I want to elaborate. When I say 75% of what you do as a software engineer is to Google, it doesn't mean you're taking the code that's literally on Google or whatever website you found it on and copying it. It's simply the base that you use to figure something out. So I feel like I'm way better at carrying myself as a professional, at communicating with others, and to providing constructive feedback. Like, I was so bad at giving constructive feedback. What I would default to as giving feedback would just literally be what Kobe would say to his teammates when they're not doing well. Just Google Kobe, Dwight Howard.
But you guys had a tough time playing together as well, you and Dwight.
Well, I mean, it's different perspectives. So, like, you know, I have a way that I think winning should be done, which is, you know, hard work, and it's, you know, it's a challenging nature. You know, so you and I, if we're working together, you got to challenge me just as I have to challenge you.
You know, like that. It seems cool and it seems tough, but in a real professional setting, that just does not slide. You know, you have to be able to give hard, constructive criticism, but to not be dismissive or like you have to be able to give constructive criticism to other people without like you have to be able to give constructive criticism without being a dick, for lack of a better word. Like, don't be a piece of shit, and be respectful, and give constructive criticism. I mean, I think if I didn't have those skills with me now, I probably would have stayed at Plated a little longer for me to hone my professional craft and to still grow and like learn from the peers that I would work with daily until I truly was ready. But the startup people and the founders in the world would tell you there's never a time when you're really ready. You just have to do it. And that do it moment for me was when me and Brian connected with each other, and I visited him, and I saw his gym in Long Island, and he told me, look, there's a great opportunity here, and I could be of help. I've taken all those things, and now I'm going to apply it to my own business and Brian's business at his gym. So that's what part 3 is going to be about. It's going to be about the ugly, the messy, and the excitement of starting your own business and kind of just winging life as we go along, because we don't really know. We've never done this before, so we've got to just figure things out as we go day by day. All right, until part 3.